you do of course set expectations of selves and what I want to do with my life, because, and I think it's very important to first and foremost respect each other as individuals. That she's an individual in her own right. She may be a mother, wonderful. She may be a wife. She may be the person looking after the house. But the father today is also doing so much. They're also doing so many things which are, looking after the children, attending PTA meetings. Your husband is going and picking up the child from school and stuff like that. And so I personally feel that it swings both ways.
This is
Yeah.
interesting. So it's again part of this little unsaid thing. He hates confrontation. So all the fights that have done, plumber and electrician and payments, all the dirty work, I do. He does the nicer work, like going to PTF, going to malls, going for movies. So it's sort of a sweet deal.
He's going to take your daughter shopping soon.
Oh, he does that already. So I can barely sit through movies. So that, that's their part of it. I'll take my daughter out for other things, but go to the planetarium or something. But
We were talking about support, and what I wanted to say was that it works again, it swings both ways. It's very important for a wife to also support her husband in what he's doing, if he's doing an entrepreneurial venture, because he's also got a lot of worries in his mind. If he can come back and share with his spouse, and she can be encouraging the whole time. We just always assume the man is the stronger one, so he doesn't need the encouragement from the wife, but that's not true. He probably goes back feeling happy, rejuvenated next day at work, saying that, okay, I've got this woman sitting at home, she's got everything chak-a-chak, and when I come back, she's ready to pump that energy back into me so that I'm pumped again the next morning. And I think, the men tend to do that also whenever you're looking at very supportive husbands. They would always tell you that, yeah, just go for it, go do what, like she's saying that he would say, while you're cooking, you can do better stuff with your time. Get a maid or a cook and tell him to do it, and you go there and do what you can, what you do well. And vice versa, I think equally they can drag the other person down also. So it swings both ways. And then again, if you're emerging out of a negative situation, you're again basically depending on yourself, kickstarting yourself again and saying, no, I can do it. I refuse to be low for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops, and then I'm going to go back and just do what I want to go do.
I'll share with something which I shared with Sarah in the morning. There's a trend like while I was in US, so there's a couple in a photo gallery on the cruise, and the lady, we interacted and asked her what she does. She said, I'm in a government job, and the gentleman, they were from Hawaii, Kona, something like that. And I asked him, sir, what do you do? He said, I'm retired. So I said, okay, like 45, 48 types. And so I said, when did you retire? He said, it's been 18 years.
Oh.
So I'm further curious to ask you, like what do you do? So he said, I take care of the kids, do all the cooking.
The house husband.
She runs the house.
Right.
Pretty happy couple. So trends are there.
Trends are there. In the West, there are a lot more. We've heard of the house husband concept there.
Yes.
Which is very popular. In India, it is not very popular. I'd like to share with you guys that my husband has not stepped into office for the last 2.5 years because he's been busy, with a construction project. And when people say, so how are you guys managing? Who's putting bread on the table because somebody needs to also bring the money in. So it's, to Atul and me, it never mattered whether it's him going to work or it's me going to work. It didn't matter. I think, and when you're looking at it, you're again essentially saying you have to build that platform of equality. It has to be that you're absolutely at par, equal.
Absolutely. We have another question from the audience. It could be anybody of you answering that. Does this definition of success differ for men as to women?
No, absolutely not. It's just the same. It's just the same.
So what is the definition of success?
In my opinion, it's success will definitely come through if you have good intentions to work. And also you have to keep on treading your steps with total confidence and good backing. You have to identify good people to whom you have to deliver work, and you should identify good people to work with also. So definitely success will come forward.
What do you think?
What do you think, Sarah?
Sari, what's your
very
take on
naturally on this, and I have
This is what I have experienced, so that's That's what I will share.
So,
So,
glad
and I'll bring it a little bit from the theoretical perspective and also from somebody who I found as my, work mentor. There's an economist called Catherine Hakim, and whose body of work around work-life choices in the 21st century is like really, really landmark. So, let's step back about 50 years ago or maybe 100 years ago to the Industrial Revolution and how work and life was structured then, which really meant that it was clear demarcation that work meant going to a physical premises and doing the 8 hours of labor or whatever that meant. And those were the choices men were given, and women had the choice of managing homes, and that's the traditional format of work-life choice. Fast forward to the 21st century where we are today, two things have happened. One is work isn't what work was back then. Work is very heterogeneous, it's very virtual, it's very what we call result-oriented work environment. It's also moving into various pockets where IP matters, your intellectual skills matter, your social skills matter. There are different connotations to work and it's not as homogeneous as it used to be. But, and here's why it applies to the gender equation. Work-life choices for men traditionally have been homogeneous, which meant getting a job was success, money was success, access to property was success, resources was success, a designation was a success. Work-life choices for women have always been heterogeneous, which meant a woman would, so if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm also a wife, and that's perhaps why we're sitting here, because these are two different buckets. I'm also a woman, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a mom, I am so many things to so many people, which means the way I structure my life, the way I bring about my life, or the way I make my choices is impacted by the heterogeneity of the roles I play, and also by my expectations of myself and my expectations of the universe around me. So the mother's guilt is actually a byproduct of this heterogeneity in expectations that women have to live with. So to an average woman, and I welcome your comments on this, success might mean my child is well fed, well grown up. There is an expectation of success that I have from my child. Expectation from my family that this is my measure of success, that I'm a good daughter-in-law, I'm a good wife, I have a clean house, I land up at where I'm supposed to land up, and I also do the work bit. And somewhere the modularity of changing nature of work, backed by technology, backed by changing attitudes, and the whole women's movement has brought us to where we are. But even today, I would still take it with a pinch of salt on what measures of success for men and women are, and they're also stacked up very differently. So here's the thing, I'll throw a question to all of you. Have you ever met a successful man whom we say he's very likable, but you meet a successful woman who's hardcore, aggressive, we'll say, oh, we don't like her. Success and likability are inversely proportional for women, and they're directly proportional for men, and that's how we're conditioned.
But that's because women don't like women.
Yes,
Yeah, but at the
this is
same
part
time, when you're
of
looking at
conditioning. So
success,
measures of
yeah.
success for a lot of women don't make the choices because they are scared to offend someone. I don't want to come across as aggressive. I don't want to push it. Oh, should I ask? Should I not ask? Should I ask for help more often? These are conditioning.
But these are also in many ways demons is the minds of women.
Yes.
If you see women are highly sensitive, men are not, men will never mind it so much if you say something.
That's
to
also
them.
because what success? I mean,
Yeah.
we've often heard that women are worrying about issues which men have no inkling about.
Right. But I think to a great extent you're also looking at success on different parameters. You're looking at success at work, success at home, success in a relationship. I'm sure a man also wants to be a good husband, a good father, a good
But that's not his
son-in-law.
measure of success. I
Oh,
mean,
so
let's
you're trying to say that a woman will measure success by not just success
see.
at work.
We all
but
want
she will-
good relationships at the end of it. There's no. I mean, there are certain things we all want out of the human life that we have, but how are we going to prioritize? So, I mean, have we ever heard a man say, "Hey, listen, should I stop working because I'm a dad now?" We haven't. I mean, yes, there are a couple of stay-at-home dads, but those are exceptions, and that's why we talk about them here. this is a very complex situation because of how we stacked up our expectations and how we have also allocated our resources to match our expectations. And it's not really a conversation about one of us. Of course, everything we do adds up. I mean, if there were 100,000 of us who became entrepreneurs and a billion of us who went back to work, equations would change because access to resources, and also goes back to the question of the kind of businesses men set up. So I land up at Startup Saturdays and Geek, Head Starter Network and all of that. Every guy I know wants to do a Facebook and a mobile app and a cool website. Every woman I meet, some want to do the mobile app, but majority want to do food, fashion, design, social enterprise, NGO, publishing, digital. The difference in choices is very, very stark.
So what you're saying is that for a woman to measure success, it's also going to have the added parameters of the home front and the relationship front and all of
Well,
that.
you know,
which she will kind of worry about in the back of her mind, but a man will not worry about it as much. Although their goals might be the same. So which is why women then tend to still meet that
Yes,
goal
so
and
that's
still
why,
be as successful.
yeah, and that's why
because
the
she's able to do
conversation
that.
about why women don't negotiate, women don't push it. They won't put her at the, at the most critical mergers and acquisition deal unless she is a Zia Modi who's sort of broken these barriers and say, okay, I don't give a damn, but I'll go grab that deal. These are social conditioning points we've all been brought up. The fact that girls are pretty and that guys pink is nice and that, I mean, this is a vast universe out there. And before anybody starts measuring us up or telling us what success looks like, there's a thing of success in our head, right? Where have I reached? So it really could be,
And actually, there's a huge definition of success for everybody. For a lot of people, success is money. For another bunch, success would be getting their child married off into the most khandani family or their city or whatever.
I mean,
So
So
I think
about
that's the-
what is your opinion? Like, what do you think success is?
Well, firstly, I think I would just first and foremost say that at the end of the day, it's my level of happiness that is my measure of success. That's a very simple, my khanda of life. And I've always had one very simple measure of success, which I have told my husband for the last 21 years. I've been married for 21 years. And I've told him that Atul, I am very happy staying at this point of where I am for the rest of my life. But I will never go a notch down. So that's my only one prerequisite. That's my condition. That's where I will put in whatever it takes. Because I've always been happy. I was happy when I used to ride a kinetic Honda, and I was happy when I had a Maruti 800, and I'm happy now with the driver, which I did not have. Even
Yeah, there is
6
lot
months
of
back.
time.
But the point is, now that I have that luxury, I don't want to not have that luxury. So for me, success is that my level of happiness, once it's reached a certain point, and these are the things that make me happy, I don't want to not have them anymore. That's a very simple thing. Other than that, I think when I'm talking about success, I cannot really measure it by way of money or material things. And sometimes you do, but then beyond a point, you stop doing it.
Ultimately, if you're doing things correctly and you're confident you're delivering correctly, that confidence keeps building up. And then ultimately it adds to your success. So because you're confident that whatever you're going to do, if it's in the correct path, you have to identify that your path is correct. So for that you need to do some kind of research, some homework, some kind of reading maybe. That research will add to some kind of self-reading, and that adds to your confidence. So like you did mention about social pressures and all. You at times have to ignore the social pressures and probably put in more time. Like in my case, I had to put in certain additional hours to my business, and I did ignore a lot of social pressures when I was told, okay, as a daughter-in-law, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to pay more attention to my relatives. Maybe I've ignored those events at a certain point of time. But once, when I used to look towards my husband, or maybe, I used to think at that point of time, what's my priority? What is going to be the outcome few days down the line? So probably that actually encouraged me, back of my mind, that okay, I should give more time, I should prioritize my activities better. So that helps. So certain times, it's kind of, at any juncture, you have to analyze what's right and what's wrong. And ultimately, you should be able to identify what is the outcome between the two roads, If you choose path 1, what is going to be the outcome few days down the line, and if you choose path 2, what is going to be the outcome. So if the path 2 is not matching your priority and what you want to see a few days down the line, then probably path 1 is right for you. And that's how you keep on moving on. So that analysis has to be there every day, even today. What I did few years back, few days back, and probably today and probably in future also. That's going to happen every day. And that's a continual process.
I'm very curious to know if we have any full-time mom entrepreneurs within the audience here.
You have Sneh.
Would you like to share something from your life, daily life? How do you?
I have a question for you, Anuja.
Okay.
I mean, like sitting here and talking about, entrepreneurship and in a DC room, it sounds very easy, but I know like bringing up an enterprise, getting the business to a certain level takes a lot of efforts and pressure and things. You might have been working, I would guess 16 to 18 hours or 20 hours in a day also at that point of time.
Right.
So did you ever feel guilty at that point of time, like working for such a stretch periods and then, home and kids, they are being neglected?
Actually, I think that's where the juggling bit comes in, because like the other two said also, I also did a lot of work from home. My kids were very small. Most of the time I used to think itne chote hain, koi yaad nahi rahega. So that kind of. So when my kids were, and the years that I used to work 16, 18 hours, there were a few thoughts that came in my mind. I did feel very guilty about my children not always being looked after by me personally. But then beyond a point, I'm not a very clingy mother. And I figured they'll all turn out fine because, I gave birth to them and I got them into this world. That is one big task over, and more or less we'll kind of get there, we'll manage. The other thing I used to always tell myself that this is my age to work. I was in my 20s then. When you're in your 20s, when you're young, that's the age to work. That's the age to put in your 20 hours a day if you have to. And that's your age to be able to juggle everything. You actually want to get into bed exhausted mentally and physically. So the kids, I would say many times I look back and don't really think of myself as a great mother. But I see my kids today. I have two daughters, 17 and 19 years old. And I think they've turned out just fine. So they are not very sensitive children. They are very willing to do things on their own. They respect me a whole lot for what I do and for the way I use my time. And I think they've turned out as hands-on as I was as a kid when I was their age. So I can just see that if I let them be and let them do a lot of things on their own as soon as they can, they will probably be able to become much stronger individuals when they grow up. So if you're putting in those hours, go ahead, put in a few more because you can do it right now. That's the important thing.
In fact, I'd like to share is that particular guilt, when you come back at the end of the day when you're back home, that acts like a motivating factor, and it probably helps you to be more focused, more methodical, and plan it better the next day so that you can take out more time for your child. So that's a motivating factor, and that goes on, and years have passed. That aspect has not stopped.
I agree with her about the getting organized bit. I'll narrate a very small story from when my daughter was really small. She was maybe just a few months old. And at night I used to have this table where I would put out 10 bottles for milk for feeding. And I would already pre-fill it with lactogen. And I would put a thermos flask on the side. And so I would prepare 10 feeds worth of bottles there, and then I would go to bed and I would look after my kid through the day, and then I would tell my husband that it's your job now to wake up at night and make sure. So I would tell him, ये यहाँ तक भरना, ऐसे shake करना और मुँह में डाल देना. She'll drink her milk and then you need to turn her over and rub her back a few times. She'll burp and then you put her back to bed. So that was part of how I got organized. Otherwise I would have been up all night, not getting my rest. I knew I needed to get back to work the next day, and I knew that my husband was very okay taking a nap even sitting in his chair at work. He would grab a nap off and on. So I said at night I refuse to wake up. I will do everything to make sure that you got the resources and the daughter is fine. But just do this.
I think that's very good. Like when you work for such a long period of hours and then you really use your time very cautiously, in a very organized manner, and you spend quality of time.
So then it is very difficult for people like us to sit around and do nothing. always want to be on your feet and say, okay, what's the next thing I can attack? Let me do it, get it done with, and move on to the next thing after that. So I'm told many times by my own children now that mom learn to relax, and I'm like, Aditi, nahi. What about others? What about you? What is it that you do?
We are into IT basically, me and my husband.
And okay,
And we are into products basically.
okay,
Right now.
okay.
That is looking after the technology part. I am looking the finance and that.
Okay. And you have small children?
Yeah. One is 9.5, other one is 7 months.
Oh my, that's a toughie. Use the bottle idea.
She sleeps at night.
I think we have another full-time
Yeah.
mom and Aman, right?
In fact, wanted to share something for Sneha. I think she's always an entrepreneur. I shared a room with her on a, we had a workshop, so both of us shared a room. And she was always in that frame of mind. So I'm sure, as a mother of 7 months also, she's always in her mind. So I think entrepreneurship is more like it's a mindset. And so whether you are with your children or, whether you're at office, your minds work, but it's multitasking. Yeah? So if your mind gets used to it. And I think I agree with Anuja. I think what next,
Yeah.
So you went to that. So I was with a bank and I was working like 10 hours. So it was a long hours and then coming back home with a kid. So that's how I decided to take this. But that you can't get off those habits. So you have to work. So whether it's just that you're more focused in whatever time you spend.
Right. And sometimes what happened with me was when my kids grew up, they would say, Mom, take a chutti today. And I would say, done. Chutti. Kya kare? And then plan out the whole day and say, okay, let's go shop, let's go blow up money. Because with girls, we love to go blow up money. Those are the cherished moments for these children. They are going to remember those times so much. As against having a mom hanging around at home all day telling them, jao brush karo, jao muh dho ke aao, haath dhoye ki nahi, ye kiya ki nahi, stuff like that. So it's so much nicer to have a mom who works, is out of the house, out of their way, in many ways.
In fact, the children get used to it, and the first question he asked is, "Aaj kitne baje ja rahe ho?" So they say, "What is the time?" So I told him, so I'm now, I'm working on my own, so I can go whenever.
Oh, okay.
And since she's my sister, so I've seen her, how she's juggled, and I've seen all her. So for me, looking at her, I've seen the board was there, and the drawing came out very nicely. So it's a thing nice, and I think it's all in the mind, the way you plan.
That's true. How about other people in the audience today? We'd like to.
I think men are not liking this session.
I think men are loving it.
Only
They are
I'm
thinking,
talking
the
about
ones
very
who are
small-
married are trying to figure out how to get their wives to become
Come
like
up
this.
with more questions.
And the
That
ones
would
who
be
are
better.
not
What they
married are
have in
trying to
mind.
figure out how to find women like this.
Yeah, well said, okay?
Thank you, Harshit.
Discrimination,
Yeah.
especially in Asian countries or India, it's there. I have not, in my last 13 years as an entrepreneur, there have been times when, right, for the right reasons and for the wrong reasons, I have not hired a woman to employ. And I think in almost all the cases I've gone back home feeling guilty and discussing with my wife over a war, did I do it right? And 99% of the time she said, yeah, I think the circumstances were okay. Now, it may not be there probably in most of the IT organizations. Most of the people are very literate and educated. They have gone ahead and worked and studied in co-ed institutions. But the fact is that there is discrimination. Have any of you faced it, and how do you tackle it in your organizations?
So if I may answer that, yeah.
So hiring a woman employee part, and I can tell you as an entrepreneur, these are we have very clear preferences on who I want to do this job. And the truth is, not all jobs fit into the person we have at hand. We may really like the person, there may be a lot of honesty and integrity about it. So here's the things. For example, one of the things when we work at FlexiWork, so as an organization, we go out and say our mandate is to drive work flex readiness, that ability to make a choice that fits your life and then stick with it. And stick with it is the hardest part, because how do you make it work? There are certain boxes which need to be ticked. Right level of skill, right level of commitment. I may have a lot of intent, but can I make the impact? And that's where the deal falls off. That's where you say, no boss, I can't hire you. Fair enough. I as an entrepreneur have made that calls. If I need a guy on the road, I need a guy on the road. And the societal truth is not going to go away, and a little bit of what we do will hopefully make an impact, maybe 20, 25, 50 years down the line. That women are caregivers, that women are the ones who are managing the whole back end of homes and lives and children and caregiving. So it's nice for some of us to get out there on the forefront, but reality remains that women are not clued into the work conversation, and thereby implying losing their access to the engine of economic growth. And this is a multiplier effect. So if one cycle doesn't sort of produce enough people in the workforce, it goes back, because the decision makers is the same homogeneous bunch we're talking about. Yes, and that's the fact of it. Diversity doesn't happen unless there's a need for diversity. That's what we at Workflex are trying to achieve. That unless it's a business case for me, unless I say, boss, this is going to do something to my bottom line and is going to change the case for me, nobody does it for societal reasons. I mean, how many have gone out and planted trees? Trees are good for all of us. We don't do it. We are humans. We're so driven by the nature that we live with. And a part of it, of discrimination, so there is what we call subtle discrimination, there's direct discrimination. Like I used to work with a consulting firm, and consulting is a very, partner-driven business. You be on the road and you chase the client deadline, you get the account. But even in those businesses, the meaty accounts will never go to women. There will always be a salary barrier. So you might do the same work as a man and same work as anybody else in business, but when it comes to negotiation, chances are somebody's out there trying to beat you down. And these are issues why we don't like, and they're so unpleasant. They are very, very out there. Women vying for jobs, women vying for better positions, women facing sexual harassment. So while there's a big deal about what it means, and the burden of having to do it, and somebody being fired, and we make a lot of jokes about it. The fact is, and as an entrepreneur and as a mother, here's what I feel about it. Unless we change things around it at home, unless the power balance changes at home, and how we treat people in our family permeates. It permeates it. So, we were the generation where, our parents took a lot of pride in raising us as the boys. We had two sisters as well. So there was a lot of pride. Oh, I'm raising my boys. They will go out and conquer, which we will. But here's my question to every parent in the room. Are we willing to raise our sons as our daughters? Can we be a little more sensitive about them? Can we make honest conversations, putting your feelings on the table, cool? Can we get them to get talking? And these are real issues which we as parents don't do. And it permeates into the workplaces, because workplaces are people from families we live in, right?
And you're essentially trying to say that when you are doing any hiring, you are looking more at the job profile and figuring whether it suits a
So
man
here's
or a
here's
woman.
my hiring mantra. This is a mantra I tell every corporate: hire for skill. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your gender is. I want to get the job done. I want to derive the maximum value for it. If a woman fits the bill, she'll get the job. And here's the thing: hire for skill, negotiate for flex, and seek recourse in process. And that's something we live with. But the fact remains, and why we do what we do is because somewhere, I'm hiring for digital managers. But how many women have made the investment to go out there and get themselves digital
Yeah,
certifications?
but that's a skill issue.
That's a skill issue, but it's directly related to how we value ourselves. I'm talking about us as a society, I'm not talking about individual cases, but the fact remains somewhere down the line, women stopped investing. And I'm not talking about the privileged lot of us who are in the room. Let's look around and people get featured. Let's look around people we know and people who are our employees perhaps. And I think it will give us a lot of insight on how families work, who makes the food, who brings up the kids, who takes care of the mother-in-law, how does it stack up? How prepared are men with life skills? So we spoke about, a set of parents who brought us life skills. They taught us driving and plumbing, and they taught us everything. But there are also life skills for men. I mean, so there's a generation of men out there, and it's a reality, who will never enter into the kitchen. They don't even know how to boil themselves an egg. Yes, and that's the truth of it, and that's exactly what you referred to. These are very interlinked blocks.
Well, why don't you tell?
I actually wanted Ashmi to share what were the parameters or the factors you had in mind for not asking women to opt for or man that particular
I could
position.
have given you all the interesting cases that happened, but
I'll also share mine. There have been moments,
reach at the point that it has happened with me, and I have been instrumental in that.
No,
Whatever
it
database management service, which was a 24/7 kind of a service which had to be given to the customers. And most of the time when I had to give those or deliver that service, it was the midnight hours. That was a time when the customer used to hand over their servers or their machines and say, okay, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to optimize, this is the slot I can give you, 12 to 2, midnight. Or 2 to 4 o'clock is the time, that's the outage that we can afford to, you can carry on those activities. And there was a time when I actually had to convince him, okay, yes, I can do it. He says, would you be able to manage? Would you be able to reach on time? Would you be able to manage those 2 hours? Will the server be available after 2 hours? Because see, you're going to compromise on my bill.